Yes, Alan Goldstein, Project Manager, Gooningiri Landcare Group in northeastern New South Wales, not far from Bangalore. We're a volunteer organisation of about 30 members, so keep that in mind when you see what we get up to. We're dedicated to supporting community and best practice protection, management and enhancement of our unique ecosystems. And going on the theme that I've heard here this morning, about 2010, we started to realise we were working on a property site here or there, but really not doing large landscape scale restoration works. So we started to think about that. We got connected with our local council that was looking at corridors. We got to hear about Great Eastern Ranges Initiative and the Environment Trust that the state government was getting interested in this in a public way. They've obviously been working on it. So we started to realise that we needed to link our communities and our community groups to be able to get that large landscape scale stuff. So if we can go, yes, there's the first, that's a very old map, Ger, but you can probably see us. We're at the most easterly point there, Byron Bay. We're in the yellow area there. If we go to slide 2, that's Byron Shire. That's from the Byron Shire Current Conservation Strategy. It's we're in one of the most biologically diverse regions in Australia, and that's because we have a lot of wildlife because we have a really diverse environment, mostly because of altitude range from 0 to 800. Lots of low and high productivity soils because of the complex geology, landscape history that includes a lot of recent sea level rises and falls, and therefore we end up with a huge variety of available habitats, ranging from, I'm sure you know this, old growth rainforest, tall eucalypt forests, rocky outcrops, heaths, sedgelands, freshwater swamps, mangroves and salt marshes. If we go to slide 3, now you can, Byron Lighthouse is right off to the east there. That red area is the area we work in, and if you squint, you can see that area, we're at the very west of Byron Shire, and we're squashed in between Mount Jerusalem National Park, just to the north of the red area, Nightcap National Park to the left, and right in the middle of the red area is Gooningiri National Park. So we're in a very high area of biodiversity, and we're buffering all these protected areas, which makes us very important. And most of the land in our area is in private hands. So that's something we keep going on about. So our mission is restoration, education and community building, and we do that to ensure the long-term survival of our unique biodiversity, but also the resilience of that biodiversity in the changing climate. We strongly believe it requires government, NGOs and us, the community and private landholders. And we think that's the way to protect these protected areas, and also the river systems that run through that. Slide 4, please. So to be more specific about our area, so you can see, can you read that vaguely? Not really. The top green area is Mount Jerusalem National Park. Then you've got Gooningiri National Park, and off to the left you've got Nightcap National Park. So as we started to think about these larger landscape projects, we realised we had to form consortiums, and this is a GER project that we did with funding from Environment Trust. That was our first large-scale consortium. We worked with another landcare group, Wilson's Creek Huonbrook Landcare Group, and a reserve, Barangaree Reserve, and Gooningiri Landcare Group. And you can see what we're trying to do. We're trying to buffer the impacts of private land on these protected areas, while at the same time dragging the protection out and the seed source out, and enlarging the corridors and the impact we have there. So that left-hand map we're talking about was the Bush Connects ET GER project, $650,000 over 10 years. We're in year 7 now. We've spent all the money. And that's a good thing, because now the landholders are doing the work with us, just sort of holding their hand through that. So you can see the bottom cluster of sites are Goonangary, then you've got Wilson's Creek, Huronbrook. The left-hand, Wilson's Creek's got a little Italian boot sticking off it, and you might be able to see that translate over to there. So on the right-hand, these are now projects Goonangary Landcare Group proceed, and we've developed them afterwards with funding mostly from Environment Trust New South Wales. And so the orange sites are still there, but you can see in the 10 years following, we've expanded those into all those other sites. Those are property outlines, we're not doing entire properties, we're doing sites within them, and the landholder expands upon those. So that work's ongoing. The other connection to do this work is obviously with the landholders and the communities involved. So I mentioned that consortium we built over here on other valleys. In here, can you see in the bottom right-hand corner, if you're looking, there's a couple of green blobs. So part of a grant we got was to do some demonstration sites outside our area. That's the village of Federal in northern New South Wales. And we did some demonstration sites there and established a landcare group within that whole project. They are now up and running their own. They have achieved their own grants and doing it. So right now we're doing another grant, the purple area, that goes up into a valley called Upper Coopers Creek, Minion Falls area. And we're in the process now. Those are lots of sites, but they're small in size. But by the end of next year, they'll have their own landcare group, and they'll be competing with us for the same grant funding to continue, no doubt. But that's okay. It's less for us to do. So that's very important to us. If we could, and we reach out with all sorts of methods similar to other speakers. If we can go to the next slide, please. We have workshops. We take people to our regeneration sites. We have demonstrations of our methodology, which I'll talk about shortly. Next slide, please. We have workshops with experts, Dr. Robert Koyman. These were after the fires. And the next one, and we have the next slide, please. School excursions with all the local schools, and people have talked about how valuable that is. Let's look at what happens on the ground with a very short video, please.
It's unquestionable that this northeast area of New South Wales is an astonishing area of biodiversity value, outstanding biodiversity value. Rare things turning up here and there and everywhere. This is an extremely rich area, and any property such as this that can be redeveloped, 100 acres here, 100 acres there, that can be regenerated, is going to contribute to that wildlife hanging on. We're at Huronbrook, west of Byron Bay. We've been here for nearly 50 years, and over that time we've been gradually reforesting the area. Now, the Bush Connect property, it was focused on a valley that was pretty much entirely lantana, and is now all regenerating rainforest. And that enabled us to complete a native vegetation wildlife corridor going from Mount Jerusalem National Park at that end to Goonangary National Park at this end of the property. So we now have a native forest corridor established.
So a big part of our grant application was about the environment work, but also about collaboration around. Often we work in silos in the environment world, and so this was an opportunity for our Wilson's Creek Landcare Group, Huronbrook Landcare Group and Goonangary Landcare Group and Barangaroo Grass to bring the volunteers that work within those organisations together.
We have the 4 ecosystems, and it's unique because mostly you get thoroughbred grass, rainforests, but you very rarely get all 4 in one area.
Then if we have a field day, we'll bring in some expert scientists with some knowledge about the local species, and they can learn something about the actual ecology and the habitat of the species that live there, and the fact that many of these species really don't occur very far outside our valleys.
The reason that connectivity is so important is to maintain that ecological functioning across our whole landscape. And only with connectivity can our native plants and animals move from one place to another, disperse, find mates, pollinate, and all those kind of things are really important to keep those plants and animals thriving.
And the methodology we use in this camphor and lantana conversion is basically to try and simulate the natural disturbance as best possible. So the natural disturbance in a rainforest is a tree falls over and there's a light gap. So when you get the extra light hitting the ground, that stimulates the germination of your seed bank in the soil. Within 3 years we can germinate so many trees, create a canopy dark enough to shade out all the weeds. We can eliminate camphor laurel seed bank, we can eliminate privet seed bank, we can eliminate lantana seed bank. But what we found was we can regenerate the soil really efficiently, really successfully. Now we like to reintroduce species. So we either plant them or we direct seed them. So we collect seed and just put the seed on site. And what that does is that ensures the longevity of the project.
Thank you. If we could have the next slide. So I've only got a couple of minutes left. Pause. Just wanted to, because all this work is done on the ground with our process called assisted natural regeneration methodology, which has been developed by many bush regeneration people over many years, starting probably with the sisters in Sydney way back. And here we are. This is an example. You saw some of this. Our main focus is camphor laurel and lantana. We do other weeds on the way through there, but that's what we do. The natural disturbance, we want to do that by getting rid of that lantana in this example and giving the seed bank that is sitting in there the opportunity for water, light, and water and light will do, won't it? There is another one. Heat. Heat. And so, in that lantana valley, we would kill that lantana in autumn, let it die over winter, come down and physically crush it down in spring before the heat of the summer. That gives us a natural mulch over the ground, suppresses the weeds to some extent, allows, and through that sort of layering, the natural seed bank can get up. So that's 6 months in. Then the next 18 months is vital because you've got to outbeat the weed growth, which will grow as well. I can go into that maybe in the panel. That was a beautiful site. It took 2 years to get crown cover. 3 years is sort of minimum on most cases, and the GER project gave us 6 years to absolutely get corridors solidly established and really, really productive. We can go on to the final. Yep, so obviously we connect communities, land care groups, experts. We're always finding threatened species. But of course, the next slide is we're actually producing rainforests on the ground on large scale all the time now. Thank you, and that wasn't too bad. Thank you.